The second season has arrived for the NFL as the playoffs begin this weekend with the wild card round. Hey everyone, welcome into yet another NFL Breakdown. Rob Wong, joined alongside by national NFL columnist John Kryk. And John, let's preview three of this weekend's games, and we got to begin with the Buffalo Bills, 9.5-point home favorites against Miami for the 1 o'clock kickoff. The team split their two meetings this year. Of course, a lot has happened off the field for the Buffalo Bills, so you would think they're a pretty motivated team coming into this one, but which AFC squad are you picking to come out on top this week?
Got to be the Bills. I mean, they're home. They're a big favorite. And if anybody watched last week's Jets-Dolphins game that the Jets pulled out, I think it was 9-6, whatever, in the field goal fest, it was awful. It was worse than that. And now it looks like their top running back, Raheem Mostert, he's got a broken thumb that he had to have surgery on just this past Monday. Will he even be able to play? And if so, is he going to have a cast on one hand and only be able to hold it with the other? I mean, just looking at the Dolphins, it's hard to believe that they could win this game. Now, that said, 4 weeks ago at Buffalo in a night game in the snow, if you recall, they gave the Bills all they could handle in a 32-29 loss. So that was the best game that Tua has played since November. I mean, he's lost his last four games. Even if he can go, is Tua going to be able to be effective? And then, of course, we saw limping off Tyreek Hill, their number one receiver, last week. Didn't play the rest of the game against the Jets. So there's a lot of unknowns. And even if you just thought that, your heart's with the Dolphins, you think that they can win the upset, boy, with the injuries that they have and the uncertainty at key positions, it would just be a real flyer to take Miami in this game.
Yeah, it would be quite the upset, as you mentioned. It'll be an AFC North matchup between two bitter rivals as the Ravens head to Cincinnati to play the defending AFC champion Bengals. Cincinnati comes in as a 7.5-point favorite, John. Baltimore still without quarterback Lamar Jackson, who does not look likely to play on Sunday, according to reports. But do the Ravens have any chance in this one?
Sure they do. I don't think they'll win. I'd take the Bengals all the way. I mean, the Bengals haven't lost since October. They're the second hottest team after the Niners, both of which are undefeated since then. But here's the thing. Baltimore's defense is good. Now, did they show everything that they wanted to, knowing that they were quite likely to play again 7 days later at Cincinnati? They're playing this Sunday night. I doubt it. They've got a good defense. Baltimore won earlier in the season when the Bengals were struggling to pass protect for Joe Burrow. That's what it'll come down to. If you're going to watch that game and after, say, a quarter and a half, if there's a lot of pressure on Joe Burrow from that really good Baltimore defense, then they're going to probably have a chance and keep it low scoring. Because the only way Baltimore is going to win without Lamar Jackson, with either Tyler Huntley, if he's ready to go get a quarterback, or Anthony Brown, is if it's going to be like, a 19-16 kind of game, or a 16-13, or a 20-17. It's going to have to be that low scoring for Baltimore probably to have a chance to stay in this thing. And the other factor is that Lyle Collins, the right tackle, who came into his own very strongly for the Cincinnati offensive line, he's out for the year. So the fact that did Baltimore maybe not utilize what they plan to do to exploit that weakness this past Sunday in their loss at Cincinnati? I doubt it. I bet we'll see a lot more pressure from the Ravens in this game. They're going to have to. They're going to have to take those kinds of chances to win this game. So it's possible, but again, I doubt it, looking at what the Ravens can produce offensively.
Finally, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers are 2.5-point home underdogs to Dallas in the Monday night cap. Even with everything that has gone on this year for Tampa Bay, John, it is hard to count out T12. Is there more Brady magic remaining this week?
I don't think they'll have 4 quarters of magic because they really haven't produced it probably all season offensively, the Bucs. What they have been able to do that Dallas has not offensively is the Bucs, when their backs are against the wall, have shown the mettle to pull out a game-winning drive. They've done it 3-4 times this season. If you recall the Rams games and others, they almost did it against the Packers way early in the season. They've been able to produce that type of mettle. They've won a Super Bowl 2 years ago. It seems to me a lot of their players were just kind of coasting this year. Not so much coasting, that's unfair, but not turning up all their toggle switches until absolutely needed. Whereas Dallas, for years, if not decades now, we have seen a franchise unable to show that type of mettle. And if you watched any of that game against Washington this past Sunday, when at the time the Dallas Cowboys could have possibly still secured the number one seed in the NFC, they were awful. Offensively, absolutely terrible. No team wants to go into the playoffs when, hey, they were trying. It wasn't like they just were going to throw their starters out there for half a quarter or a quarter like Tampa Bay did against Atlanta. The Cowboys really were struggling offensively and looked terrible. And you can make the argument they've got worse in the last 4, 5, 6 weeks. They're going into the playoffs with absolutely no momentum or confidence offensively. And their defense has been Sam Howell making his first, not his only NFL start for Washington last Sunday. It was his first action, his first pro action. And he looked like an all-pro against that Dallas defense. So you got to take the home team. And Dallas will end up bookending their season with losses to Tampa Bay because they lost 19-3 in week 1.
Well, it's always one of the more exciting weeks of the NFL season, the wild card round. You can get all of John's wild card weekend picks at his Kryk newsletter, and you can find him on Twitter at John Kryk.